And we begin with breaking news right now in eastern Jefferson County, a large fire. We've been telling you about it, that apartment complex right off Westport Road. Hello, everyone. I'm Connie Leonard.
And I'm Doug Profit. We have photos from a viewer who witnessed the fire this afternoon. And take a look right here. You can see the flames shooting right from the middle of this apartment complex. You see it right there behind the AutoZone store. The AutoZone store not impacted by this, but this is on Langdon Drive off Westport Road, just before you get to Goose Creek. Now, I talked with Sal Melendez moments ago of the Anchorage Middletown Fire Department on the scene with St. Matthews, and they do not know yet if everyone got out okay. That search will begin once they get control.
That huge fire there was reported at 4:11 today and was not under control a few moments ago. In these scene videos and pictures, you can see an SUV is on fire. It's unclear there in the background, and it's unclear what caused the fire so far. WHAS11's Jose Alonso is heading to the scene. We'll have a live report coming up from him, so stay with us for more breaking news coverage on WHAS11.com as well.
I was astonished at the fact that, they chose to do this right before the holidays,
BlueOval SK terminating the workforce of the battery plant in Glendale. Ford now fully taking over the joint venture there, promising an eventual 2,100 jobs and a transition away from the production of the electric vehicle car batteries. As change comes for Glendale again, its Main Street will rely on small-town tourism, while hundreds will seek new jobs.
That's what our Ian Hardwick and photojournalist Jessica Farley found out today.
Mary Spock stocks her shelves with American-made goods. A construction worker from the American-made battery plant 2 miles down the road was her first customer.
From the start, BlueOval has not been a negative impact on me. It's been positive.
But most of her Main Street customers come for Glendale's antiques and restaurants, not BlueOval SK.
We had a comedian visit from California. She was on tour and traveling from Louisville to Nashville.
The plant still brought people to town. Ford's partnership with SK On hired over 1,600 people for car battery production. After the partnership ended, SK laid off those employees. Ford is now taking custody of the plant.
There's many of people that relocated and, moved from other states to come here.
Dwayne Mollison worked at BlueOval until last year. He was happy with the pay, $19 an hour.
Companies around here didn't start upping their pay rate until BlueOval came.
Here on Battery College Drive, the hope was that the Elizabethtown Community College could train about 5,000 people to work at BlueOval SK. Now Ford says they're prepared to hire 2,100 people here, leaving a pretty significant gap. But Spock says her customers prefer the quieter Glendale from 5 years ago.
You're just kind of like re-ruffling those feathers, and they're going to be a little bothered for a little while.
Even in the company divorce, the plant is here to stay. In Glendale, Ian Hardwick, WHAS 11 on your side.
SK On will still produce car batteries and sell them to Ford from its Tennessee plant.
Ford said it will have a subsidiary take over the Kentucky plant. The company plans to build batteries not for cars, but for power companies and data centers instead. And
last week, Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear called out Congressman Brett Guthrie for helping to end tax credits to support purchases of electric vehicles and EV infrastructure. Today, WHAS 11 News got Guthrie's response to the governor's claims.
It's really disappointing that Brett Guthrie, who has 3 EV plants in his district, would be the one that champions it, pushes it through, and doesn't make any changes at all to protect those plants. So if we have people that lose their jobs, or jobs that are not created, your own congressman did it to you, and that's really, really wrong.
I know that's a liberal pipe dream. The liberals want everybody running around in an electric car. We don't have the grid for it. We don't have the charging stations for it. And right now, we don't have the demand for it. So Ford is reacting to the demand of the public.
Guthrie went on to say the governor was gearing up for a presidential run and is trying to satisfy a liberal base.
And Ford agrees, at least about the demand for EVs, sending WHAS 11 a statement that reads, quote, "We have observed lower than anticipated industry-wide EV adoption rates due to changes in consumer sentiment, competitive dynamics, and legal and policy changes."
The statement also adds Ford appreciates Chairman Guthrie's support for the American auto industry, and we look forward to our continued partnership with him and the state of Kentucky.
In other news today, a JCPS 5th grade teacher was arrested and charged after allegedly sending inappropriate messages to a student through the district's NTI system.
Sydney Graff appearing in court in Louisville this morning where she pleaded not guilty. According to the arrest citation, during a non-traditional instruction day, an NTI day, the math teacher was allegedly sending sexual messages to a student. Police said the victim was younger than 12 years old.
Police were notified and they arrested Graff. While she was on the way, they say, to pick up the boy, the county prosecutor argued her bond should be set at $100,000. But her attorney said she didn't qualify as a flight risk.
She owns property here in town. She has 2 children here in town. She's married. She has her family, her sister, and they all are here. So a flight risk she is not.
Looks like there were actual attempts of picking up that juvenile from his residence, which is where the citation indicates that that's where she was apprehended. So as I said, our position is that this bond is appropriate and should not be changed here.
Smyrna Elementary Principal Amanda Cooper sent a letter to families saying in part, quote, following JCPS protocols, the staff member will be reassigned and will not have contact with students during the investigation. We know situations like this can cause anxiety for students and families. Our mental health team is always available. Graff's bond was kept at $100,000 cash.
We're learning new information today on the alleged car theft ring in Louisville busted by police. LMPD making the announcement yesterday saying they arrested 3 18-year-olds, Parker Campbell, Caleb McLean, and this teenager you see here in court, Jamari Kroom. Kroom was arraigned before a judge just this morning, where his bond was set at $100,000. In court, the prosecutor saying when arrested, the boys had police equipment like a rifle and body armor because they broke into an unmarked LMPD cruiser. LMPD says the crew stole cars by programming keys. Today, Kroom's bond was set at $100,000.
All new tonight at 5. 5 families are suing JCPS employees, Metro employees, and the Bleacher manufacturer following the Wagner High School Bleacher railing collapse incident. You may remember several high school students were injured on October 16th when a Bleacher railing collapsed during the celebration following a St. X and Trinity High soccer match. And the lawsuit alleges negligence on the part of the Bleacher manufacturers and the company that installed them. The 5 families are asking for punitive damages.
Well, it wasn't 9-10 degrees today, but for some odd reason, Connie, it still felt really cold out there today. I don't know what was going on.
It wasn't as bad for me because I thought it was warm enough where I forgot my coat today.
She forgot her jacket. Yeah, thankfully not nearly as frigid as Sunday, but the cloud cover, that does something, I think. You know, when you have all that sunshine yesterday, even though temperatures were in the 30s, maybe it felt a little bit nicer. But we're taking that live look outside from our First Savings Bank camera from over in Jeffersonville. This is part of our Shriners Children's Camera Network. Temperatures today are in the upper 30s and lower 40s all across Kentuckiana. We're at 41 degrees currently in Louisville, 38 in LaGrange and Scottsburg, 42 in Shepherdsville, 43 currently in Litchfield. So in comparison to this time yesterday, even with all that cloud cover, we're still running 5 to 10 degrees warmer than this time Monday evening. Our hourly planner looking fairly quiet for the rest of the evening. We could see a brief break in the cloud cover for time before those clouds do increase yet again overnight. But the cloud cover and that south-southwest wind should keep temperatures a little bit more elevated, with overnight lows only dropping into the upper 30s. So the bus stop forecast tomorrow, some early clouds, but more afternoon sunshine with high temperatures approaching 50 degrees. I'll let you know when you'll need the umbrella this week. We're talking rain rather than snow. That's coming up in our 7-day forecast.
All right, thank you very much, Mallory. We're just about 2 weeks away from the end of the year. A lot to reflect upon here in Metro Louisville.
So we brought Louisville Mayor Craig Greenberg into the studio today to talk to us about a number of important topics. So, Mayor, thank you for joining us today. And I know Doug has one he's really been following.
Well, all right. The reports from Business First about the Humana building becoming our next hotel in downtown Louisville. It would be the second biggest hotel in the city if this comes to fruition. Is this true? Is the Humana building set to become a hotel?
Well, I'm going to simply say that we are working towards a wonderful project for the next chapter of the Humana building. And we've been working closely with Humana. There have been several interested developers. We're working now with one in particular. I'm not going to deny the report, but I'm going to continue to just work quietly. And we hope to have an announcement early in the new year.
Well, the report's pretty detailed, and
It
they cited sources, and they talk about the Poe Companies, which is a locally owned firm here. Steve Poe has developed many hotels in Louisville. The Marriott saying it'd be 1,000 rooms, and it would also use the existing structure, but build in another tower where Vincenzo's restaurant is near where Vincenzo's.
That has all the makings of what would be a wonderful next chapter for this project.
Okay. Have the problems with the building been a source of making it harder to sell, just some of the issues in the building? Or?
Yeah, any conversion project of a building is challenging, and when there are some of the issues that have been publicly reported about, that does make it a little bit more challenging. But we have a lot of good people. Humana is committed to an exciting next chapter. We've got a great development team we're talking to in the city and state want to be supportive of the next chapter.
So originally, Poe was looking at the Museum Plaza site, which you're familiar with. You were once involved in that when in your role at 21C. Has he moved off that site now to look at Humana?
I'm going to talk about things next year when we have an actual project to announce.
This is downtown. This is your big investment.
It is, and I'm working hard at it, but I also believe in the need for confidentiality as you're working to make sure something can happen before you get ahead of yourself.
I see. So is it in the process?
We are working hard on a project on the next chapter of the Humana Tower.
Okay. All right.
Mayor, let's talk about something you've been wanting to talk about. You talked about today, actually, was homicides down in Louisville, overall crime. We also reported today on the teenagers in that auto theft, and youth violence has been an issue here. What can you tell us about efforts to continue to reduce youth violence, and also I know you want to talk about the homicide.
Yeah, I'm incredibly proud of the progress that we've made under Chief Humphrey's leadership. LMPD is doing a great job, and you just reported on some of that progress where they're breaking up both violent crimes but also other types of crimes as well, and like the crime ring that you just mentioned. Since I've been mayor, shootings are down by over 40%. This year alone, shootings and homicides are down over 20%. Carjackings, robberies, assaults, all down. It's not nearly enough. We can and we must do more. And so that's what LMPD is focused on. That's what my Safe Louisville plan is focused on, preventing crime from happening in the first place. That's what you're going to continue to see more of. We're investing in new violence prevention programs. We're helping middle school students find new pathways in life because we need to reach out to these kids that are headed on the wrong path early in life before, and it's sad. I mean, we are seeing far too much gun violence between the ages of 16 and 24-year-olds, shooting at other 16 to 24-year-olds. We've got to reach them early.
Dorena Weathers, the Jefferson County Commonwealth's attorney, has been in here, and she's talked about this before, about parents facing consequences for teenagers who are involved in violent crimes. Like we just reported, where do you stand on that? Should parents pay a price, a fine? Should they face any jail time?
Being a parent is one of the greatest responsibilities of my life, of anyone's life I know, and there are great responsibilities that come with that. So yes, there should be responsibilities for parents, and we should figure out what that is, and people should know where their kids are. It's easy these days. You can tell on your phone in so many different ways to know where your children are, particularly late at night. And so I think parents do have a role to play in all of this, and we should be having serious conversations about what that is.
Okay. Speaking of being a parent, your son at Brown University, certainly such a scary situation up there. Can you kind of give us your perspective? How's he doing, and kind of what have you talked to him
Well,
about?
the good news is that Ben was able to make it home last night. So there were great hugs from Rachel and I with Ben, and we were able to celebrate Hanukkah together last night. And he got to see some friends from high school, which I think was wonderful. You know, it was incredibly scary for him and for every other Brown student and for the entire Providence community. And they're still living in fear right now as they work to apprehend the suspect and get answers. But Saturday night, you know, immediately brought me back to the assassination attempt on me. It immediately brought me back to that horrible week in April of 2023 when our community suffered through the Old National Bank shooting, followed by another shooting in Chickasaw Park just days later. But it's different as a father. And just, you know, there to support him, to answer questions, to think through things, to provide reassurance for him and his roommates who were barricaded in a room literally all night long as they waited for answers and guidance from the Providence authorities.
We're glad Ben's back, and your family's together for Hanukkah, and I think you're leaving here to go to 4th Street.
That's right, going to light the menorah.
The menorah light.
Yes. Awesome.
All right, thank you very much, Mayor Craig.
Thank you all so much.
Appreciate it. We'll be all right.
And as we head to break, here's a check of today's Kentucky Lottery jackpots. Mega Millions, $80 million. Powerball, $1.25 billion.
The Kentucky Lottery, funding education for over 1 million Kentucky students.